This is take, well, let's call it take one. Okay, hey guys, Mike the Vike here. Welcome to my second channel. This should be upload number 2. Today, we're gonna be doing a camera showcase video, just showing off my rig. What I'm hoping to achieve with this video is show you some of the mistakes that I made, honestly, and save you maybe a couple bucks. Now, unfortunately, I'm filming you guys with my camera, and I don't really have a B cam, so I'm borrowing this thing. This is a Canon M3. I'm gonna throw my 18 to 35 on there and hope for the best, but apologies, okay? So here is my Canon C200. I personally love this thing. I'm very lucky to own it. I think it's pretty cool. All right, so it's actually a really simple rig. Right off the bat, just have a SmallRig base plate. I figure you need a base plate. Like, yes, you can put your tripod plate right on, but I think this is the smarter thing to do. And beyond that, I just went for V-mount batteries. And actually, if you are in the market for V-mounts, pretty dang sure this is like the best deal you can get. Shape sells 2 of these 98 watt-hour batteries in a 2-pack with a decent dual watt charger for something like $670 Canadian. Now, funny enough, to get your V-mount onto your camera, there's like a million of these V-mount plates. It's actually insane. I ended up going for one from Rolux. I can't find these online. I bought it from Lauren Lapham, which is a place in Vancouver. I like it because it has 2 D-taps as opposed to the normal just 1. And then for the cheese plate bit, that's just from SmallRig, a fairly new part that they came out with. I think it was like 60 bucks. You know what, that's pretty much all there is to it. Oh, you need this special cable for this camera in particular to go from this, like, you know, LEMO type cable to the P-tap. Beyond that, I went with the stock top handle, stock monitor mount. I moved the shotgun mic thing to down here. That's all factory options. But, you know, once it's all said and done, I think you have a pretty compact build. You know, 4K 12-bit RAW up to 60p, Canon color science. Pretty hard to go wrong, you know? Now, what I'm hoping some of you guys are doing at this point is judging me hardcore and saying, wow, what an uninspiring build. It's so simple and it has so little going on. That is perfect. So let me show you what I had before. Oh God, okay, so fast forward a little bit and, oh Jesus Christ. Here's the SmallRig build. Now, this isn't necessarily like its final form. I returned some of the parts that I ended up using. I had for a little bit, like I said, a Ninja 5 up here on one of their, you know, nice tilt swivel mounts, but Jesus Christ, it's even more apparent now after I come back to it. Oh, I guess let's explain what's on here. So I added a side bracket, which is supposed to distribute the weight of these metal plates. I added a top handle from SmallRig, and I added SmallRig's monitor bracket. Here's the question though, as nice as it looks, am I really adding any extra utility, any extra functionality truly to this camera? The only exception really is the 15mm rods, which is why I ended up keeping them, because those actually have a function. But what I quickly realized is I had all this extra junk and I had spent all this extra money on my camera. And sure, it looked cooler to the right person. Maybe it looked more like a red. Reality is, this is not a red, okay? And it kind of clicked to me. I was trying to turn my camera into something that it wasn't. And actually kind of taking away from some of this camera's benefits. Oh God, all right, so finally, here we are, back to normal. Using the stock carry handle, stock monitor mount, everything basically original beyond the V-mount. And guess what? Works fantastic. There's nothing wrong with this. I would actually make the argument that the stock monitor mount is probably better. Here, hang on. There we go. Now you're more or less in underslung, right? If you want your monitor low down, you can go like that. Now, hopefully trying to not focus too much on this camera specifically, here are hopefully some things I can throw at you and you can take them or leave them or whatever. This is just from my personal experience. If I could go back and tell myself to not do these things, it would be, number one, stop trying to make your camera look like something that it isn't. You know what I mean? The first thing people do usually when they buy a mirrorless camera like a Sony is they're gonna buy a cage, they're gonna buy a top handle, they're gonna buy all these extra bits and pieces, shoulder rigs, and make it into this big bulky thing. I understand you might be paranoid or self-conscious in some environments. You know what I mean? It looks more impressive to have a big camera, no doubt about it. What I would say is, I don't know. Why, like, I don't think it's worth it, is what I would say. I don't think it's worth all that extra expense. Most of the jobs I ever had, it didn't matter. They didn't care whether it had a SmallRig cage on it or not. It was still a small camera. And actually, part of why I'm making this video is because of recent cameras, like the Canon C200, the A7S III. A lot of these bodies now, in my opinion, just from brief handling of the A7S III in particular, they don't need anything. Like, they're so good now without any extra bits and pieces. And again, huge grain of salt is that it totally depends on what you do. The long and short of it is, if you don't need something, don't buy it. If you want a bigger camera, don't waste your money on bits that make your camera look bigger. Just save your money until you can actually afford that bigger camera and use your camera as it is. Like, I was going pretty insane with this thing too, by the way, just saying. Like, I was gonna go with like a fairly affordable wireless transmitter. I was gonna go with a map box and all these extra additions. And I realized, like, man, do I really use these things? Am I really gonna use them? How often do I use them, most importantly? Like, am I better off buying it? You know, buying this cheaper alternative that probably doesn't work as well? Or should I just rent the real deal on the days that it matters? Okay, thank God we're back on the big camera, but a couple closing thoughts just to be careful. So there are some cameras where buying things like a cage and stuff like that does make sense. What comes to mind is those Blackmagic pocket cinema cameras, which are phenomenally good value. I would say that is a rig where a cage and all those extra bits does make sense. And so it's entirely a case-by-case basis, which is why hopefully my simple thought of just make sure that when you spend your money, it's on something you actually need. That's what I really try to hone in on, because I personally have made that mistake like countless times. If you enjoyed, don't forget to press that like button. Helps me out tremendously. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.